person out there like Sinatra. I mean, I think what he did and what he accomplished in his whole life, I don't think there's any other man or any other artist that would compete with him. I mean, the guy is a legend. He's really a Hoboken legend. He's unbelievable.
Now, Hoboken is planning a public memorial for Frank Sinatra on Monday at the church where he was baptized. The memorial is intended for the residents here to pay their respects, but if tourists show up, they can get in on the act, too. Reporting live from Hoboken, I'm Cynthia Tornquist. Back to you, Gene.
Cynthia, before you go away, what else is planned there in Hoboken?
Well, interestingly enough, here in town, having nothing to do with Frank Sinatra's death, the town is planning to build a museum here along the waterfront to show off all of Sinatra's baby pictures and albums along the way. So, yeah, there are a lot of other plans here.
All right, Cynthia, thanks very much. Sinatra's popularity extends around the world. Our Havana bureau chief found that out today in Cuba. Here's Lucia Newman's report.
Outside this store in Havana, which before the revolution was Woolworth's, many people still remember Frank Sinatra. His music was so romantic, says this man. You could dance to it with your mate. No, says this woman. I preferred listening to his music. With their boyfriends? Of course, they say. We were once young too, you know.
Del célebre cantante y actor estadounidense Frank Sinatra.
Despite the decades-old Cold War between the U.S. and Cuban governments, there's never been a freeze on Frank Sinatra.
La voz de los ojos azules, Frank Sinatra, My Way, Just Done.
Cuba's Radio Taíno paid a special tribute to Sinatra. In fact, Cuban state-run radio and television have been playing his music and showing his films for decades. That's why the news of his death triggered a lot of nostalgia. He was so romantic, so handsome. In the movies, you'd hold hands with your boyfriend because Frank Sinatra was there, singing a beautiful song. We also talked to people about Sinatra at the outdoor cafeteria La Complaciente, where you can buy sweet potato fritters for 1 peso, about 5 cents. When my mother was alive, says this man, I had my hairdressing salon in my house, and I would put on Frank Sinatra's songs while I combed my clients. Lydia says she still remembers the first man she fell in love with, playing Sinatra for her on the Victrola. Sinatra, who once stayed at Havana's famous Hotel Nacional, probably had romantic memories of Cuba. In 1951, he stayed in this room with one of the great loves of his life, his new bride, actress Ava Gardner.
Nació en Hoboken.
And even now that the boy from Hoboken is gone, the love affair between Sinatra and Cuba continues. Lucia Newman, CNN, Havana.
In the next hour of CNN Saturday, we'll talk to a Rolling Stone contributing editor about Frank Sinatra's legacy. Tonight, a CNN special, Sinatra, The Voice. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
In this shrine to Frank Sinatra behind me, people are stopping by and leaving little mementos, little pieces, if you will, of Frank Sinatra's life. Many remembered sharing refreshment with Frank Sinatra, and if you look over here, there's a little bottle of Jack Daniels that says, "One more for the road, Frank." Others left pictures. Here's a picture of Frank Sinatra as a very young man, and of course, all of his female fans here in Palm Springs would argue there was no one more handsome than Frank Sinatra in his youth. Also, you'll see in the distance there, an angel. Frank Sinatra was perceived as an angelic figure here because of all his donations to charity. He gave to the Temple Isaiah, even though he was not Jewish. He gave to the Desert Museum, the Desert Hospital, and of course, the Barbara Sinatra Center for Abused Children. He not only gave pure cash at times, but he also gave a lot of his time and his energy and his effort. So Frank Sinatra is fondly remembered around here.
Oh, well, he's a few years older than I am, but I enjoyed his songs. I really enjoyed them. I mean, they had all different kinds of moods.
I guess a lot of people would say the same thing. It's just something he had. You know, I guess that if he came to England with the President of the United States and they were at two different venues, I'd go and see Frank Sinatra.
A funny remark, but it sparked a great debate around here. A lot of people wondering if you could see the president or Frank Sinatra, who would you see? Think about that. Discuss it among yourselves. Here in Palm Springs, California, most people would answer they would rather see Frank Sinatra live, see him sing one more time. Reporting live from Palm Springs, I'm Paul Verkaman. Now back to Eugene in Washington.
Thank you, Paul. Fans of the late Frank Sinatra continue to leave flowers at the Sinatra home in Beverly Hills. This week's memorial service for the entertainer will be private. A visual service will be conducted Tuesday night, the funeral mass on Wednesday. Both will be in Beverly Hills. How did the unique phrasing that characterized Frank Sinatra's voice come about?
He's one of my favorite singers, Frank Sinatra.
By the time Ann Miller introduced Frank Sinatra in the 1943 film Reveille with Beverly, he had the voice to sing slow, sensuous love songs.
Night and day, why is it so?
He's singing Cole Porter's Night and Day, and this was the type of performance that had the girls screaming and fainting in their bobby soxes at the Paramount Theater.
Night and day, under the hide of me, there's an such a hungry yearning burning inside of me.
Night and Day was on the bill during those 1942 Paramount concerts, and the film reveals Sinatra's stage persona as it was developing.
When we see him singing Night and Day and looking at us in what was a very vulnerable manner, I think his vulnerability, his shyness was something that really appealed to the young girls.
By this time, Sinatra's voice was showing the effects of his time with the Tommy Dorsey Band. Sinatra always said he took his breathing cues from Dorsey's trombone solos. The result, unique phrasing that would characterize his voice forever after.
So for Sinatra, going with the Tommy Dorsey Band was very much like going to graduate school.
I'll never smile again.
Las Vegas Nights is a feature film that Frank made with Tommy Dorsey and the band, and he wasn't given a lot of time on screen.
Until I smile at you.
The performance on film allows us to capture, in part, what was just selling millions of records over the counter in record stores across the nation.
And now here's a great musical aggregation, Harry James and his boys. And also a fellow that used to work with him, Mr. Swoon himself, the old calypso singer, Frank Sinatra.
Surprisingly little footage exists of Sinatra during his first big band job with the Harry James Orchestra.
Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week.
This reunion was part of a 1944 war bond rally.
He was now king of the bobby soxers, so to see him with the Harry James Orchestra was sort of anachronistic because he wasn't a band singer anymore. He was way past that.
Frank Sinatra was well on his way to a legendary career.
Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week.
Sherry Sylvester, CNN, Los Angeles.
Tonight, a special presentation on the life of the legendary singer, Sinatra, Inc. airs at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific here on CNN.